you just awakened the worst F-rank ability in history. A single cubic meter of storage space. The entire school laughs in your face, calling you a pocket box only good for carrying bricks. But they do not have a single clue about how terrifying the laws of space truly are. If you wrap half of that space around an enemy's head and leave the other half hanging in midair, then instantly force it to snap shut, that is right. It becomes an attack that bypasses any defense. A literal absolute spatial shear. Now what if you take that 1 cubic meter of space and split it into 10 spaces of 10 cubic centimeters? A cold, mechanical voice echoes through the awakening hall of Jiangcheng First High School. Thousands of eyes fall on you at the exact same moment. Wearing a faded, worn-out school uniform, you step out of the corner and onto the stage. You place your hand on the awakening stone. In a world overrun by deadly beasts, the class hierarchy is absolute. The talent you awaken today pretty much determines your entire life and how high you can climb. It decides if you and your family can escape the fate of being caged like cattle. So in this very moment, everyone is watching. But when the stone glows, the light is pitifully weak, a dull, gray-white halo, only thinly coating the surface of the stone, like a dying candle flickering in the wind. The crowd below falls quiet at first, then bursts into waves of ruthless mockery. You call that an awakening? Gray-white light? What a trash ability. I have never even heard of it. It probably does not even rank at F tier. Proctor looks at the final words flashing on the screen, shaking his head in disappointment. He directly announces your awakened talent, an F-rank storage space, adding the note, a volume of 1 cubic meter. The moment those words leave his mouth, the entire hall erupted in laughter. Just 1 cubic meter of storage space. Isn't that basically just a tiny pocket box? Using that power to move logistics cargo? Even logistics teams would say it holds nothing. Fresh out of the slums, even your awakened power reeks of pure poverty. Harsh, stinging mockery rained down on you from all sides. But you just quietly pull your hand back, staring blankly at those cold digital words. Your face shows neither anger nor any resentment, only a heavy, dead silence. You know it well. When you do not have any power, emotions are never worth a single dime. But right at that very moment, a blinding, brilliant golden light suddenly explodes from backstage, instantly pulling every single eye in the room toward it. Young Master Zhao's awakening is definitely S-class. It is the Crimson Lotus Flame. The Zhao family bloodline is truly terrifying. Amidst the shocked gasps, Zhao Ze, direct heir of the Zhao family, steps onto the high stage enveloped in golden flames. He is dressed in a luxurious school uniform. His expression is filled with a completely open, arrogant sense of superiority. Completely unlike you, he was born right at the finish line of most lives. And now, he has awakened one of the absolute top-tier offensive combat abilities. From this day forward, resources, status, and future prospects will automatically tilt toward him. Instead of basking in the loud cheers first, he walks straight over to stand before you, looking down at you with cold disdain. A cruel smirk curls on his lips. Lingen, look who it is. Turns out it is just you, that dirty rat hiding in the sewers. He raises a finger burning with hot, bright flames, pointing it directly at your chest from a distance, mocking you, word by painful word. 1 cubic meter of storage space. Actually, it is just right. Once that dirt-poor sister of yours is dead, perfect for her ashes. At the mention of your sister, the dead water in your eyes finally stirred. A flash of cold malice flickered across them. Jiaozi sharply caught this subtle shift. He laughed even wilder. What? Got a problem? A pathetic loser like you even standing here, just breathing, is wasting Jiangcheng's air. He turned directly to Mentor Wang. His tone was a flat-out command. Doesn't the school have one last slot for recommended admission to the War Academy? I recall it was meant for him, right? Mentor Wang's face turned pale. He stammered. Based on grades and evaluations, this slot belonged to Lin An. Not anymore, Zhao Zi said flatly. His words carried the power of life and death. I don't want anyone in my school who isn't even fit for logistics duty, wasting our valuable resources. Mentor Wang tried to protest, but this is against the rules. Rules? Zhao Zi sneered. His flames suddenly flared up. In Jiangcheng, my family makes the rules. The hall instantly fell dead silent. No one spoke up for you. Everyone just stared at you. Some eyes held pity. Others glowed with malice. Most just waited for you to break. But you didn't break. You just looked up at Zhao Ze. Your expression was terrifyingly calm, like looking at a dead man walking. Zhao Ze hated that look more than anything. The smirk slowly vanished from his face. Very well, he hissed. I really hate that look. Get out, Mentor Wang sighed. He slid a form over. It is a withdrawal form. With your useless ability, school is pointless. Just accept your fate. Go to the East Side factory, find a job tightening screws. At least you can still scrape by. You take the application and glance at it. Then you grab a pen and sign your name. Your hand is completely steady. Without a single shred of hesitation, you hand the form back, turn, and walk away. Not a single word of argument the entire time. Because in your brutal rules of survival, you never waste breath arguing with the doomed. The moment you step out of the gates, the sky turns pitch black. Lightning rips open the storm clouds, and torrential rain pours down on you, drenching you completely in seconds. But you don't even feel the cold. You just keep moving forward, completely numb. Suddenly, inside your pocket, the heavily cracked screen of your cheap, secondhand phone starts to vibrate. You press answer, and a cold, sterile voice delivers the news. This is the First City Hospital. Your sister Lin Xiao's abyssal frost syndrome just worsened. She has already been rushed to the ICU. You must pay 100,000 star coins within 24 hours. If you can't pay for the specialized Tuanyuan 1 medicine, we'll have to stop her treatment according to regulations and discharge her. 100,000 star coins. That number hits your brain like a sledgehammer. To the wealthy, it is just a number. But to you, it's an astronomical sum you can never reach. Doctor, please, you plead. Give me a few more days. I will, but the line suddenly goes dead, leaving only a cold, empty dial tone. Standing in the pouring rain, your fist slowly clenches. You squeeze that rain-soaked school withdrawal form, crushing it into mush, bit by bit. The last shred of patience vanishes from your face, leaving only cold resolve and pure madness. School is gone. Your future is gone. Every legal path is dead. This world, with all its corrupt rules, never planned to let you or Linjia survive. Then you have to take it yourself. So you spin on your heel, heading towards the city's edge. To the slums, forgotten by light and abandoned by any real order. The deeper you go, the darker it gets. Finally, you turn into the deepest, filthiest alley without even a single streetlight. In that moment, your eyes change completely. Time to risk your life for it. But before the words fully leave your lips, a metallic, stomach-turning stench of blood mixed with a foul, beastly musk blasts at you from deep within the alley. Then, two blood-red lanterns ignite in the dark, except those aren't lights. They're eyes, belonging to a Tier 2 beast that belongs outside the city walls, a shadow wolf. These beasts are feared for their speed and power. They're a recruit's absolute nightmare. Facing one head-on, an ordinary person has zero chance. Surviving 3 seconds is a miracle. The thought of running crosses your mind, but you instantly crush it. Exposing your back to a wolf will only get you killed faster. So instead of retreating, you take a step forward, dropping your center of gravity. Your right hand flashes down to grab a rusty, sharp piece of rebar, holding it across your chest. This is the raw instinct you forged in the underground fight clubs of the slums. When facing a stronger enemy, the more you fear losing, the faster you fall. Only by showing a more ruthless, suicidal desperation can you claw out a single chance of survival. Man and wolf stare down in the muddy, dark alley. The next second, the shadow wolf strikes, charging forward like a streak of black shadow, aiming straight for your throat. You can barely track its movement, relying solely on survival instincts honed through countless life-or-death fights. At the very last second, you twist violently to the right. You manage to save your throat, but your left shoulder and arm are brutally slashed by those claws. A massive chunk of flesh is ripped wide open. Crimson liquid sprays out in a sudden rush. Blinding agony makes your vision fade to black. But you do not retreat. Instead, the pain ignites a savage fire deep in your bones. You let out a wild roar. Using the momentum of your spin, you stab the rebar back straight toward his eye. This strike is both lightning fast and brutal, but you underestimated the terror of a Tier 2 beast. The shadow wolf jerks its head aside midair. The steel rod misses the eyeball completely, clanging hard against his dense, solid skull. It jams there, barely penetrating half an inch. Enraged by the sudden flash of pain, the beast thrashes its head. You lose your grip on the steel, and you are violently thrown to the ground. What follows is a truly savage and primal struggle. You roll together through the sewage and the mud. His sharp claws repeatedly rip through your skin. But you fight back like a completely crazed animal, abandoning almost all your defense. Using your fists, elbows, and knees, and even your own teeth, you strike at any spot that could be lethal. 3 bone-deep gashes are carved across your back. Your shoulder wound continues to bleed heavily. Your stamina and consciousness drain away fast. Your strikes grow slower. Your breathing turns ragged. Finally, the shadow wolf spots an opening. It slams you violently against the wall. Your head cracks hard against it. Stars burst across your vision. The next second, its heavy body presses down. Its sharp claws pin your shoulders down hard, locking you into the corner. You cannot move. He lowers his head. The wolf's foul, rancid jaws are less than 5 centimeters from your throat. You can see every single stain on its massive fangs. Despair crawls across your skin like a layer of ice. But right at this exact moment, a memory of Lingxia flashes across your mind. That pale, smiling face whispering, "Big brother, you are going to be the strongest ability user. Brother, once I get better, I want to eat candied hawthorns from the South City. You can't lose. If you lose, what about Lingxia? What about the 100,000 star coins? What about the hospital's warning to stop his treatment?" Just as the shadow wolf opens its massive jaws, ready to crush your skull to pieces, your panicked, frozen mind suddenly enters a state of absolute unprecedented calm. The pain, fear, and bitterness are instantly drained from your soul, leaving only two things in your entire world: that lunging wolf head and the space ability everyone mocked as completely useless. Storage space. What is space? It is something invisible, something intangible, yet it is a very real existing box. If it's a box, it must have edges, and these edges appear when it opens or closes, and they disappear. A completely insane, wild idea suddenly tears right through your mind. What if an object gets caught right on that edge? Your gaze locks onto the shadow wolf, right where its head meets its neck. In the next second, you pour all your mental energy, all your willpower, and even your entire life force into one incredibly sharp single-minded thought. The lower half of the space covers its head, while the upper half lands on the air right above its neck. The edge of the space locks precisely between its head and its neck. The storage space instantly snaps shut. The heavy pressure on your body suddenly vanishes. Immediately after, a flood of scalding, thick liquid bursts forth, drenching your head and face. You slump against the wall, wheezing like a ruined beehive. You look down, your pupils shrinking instantly. The shadow wolf's heavy body still presses against your leg, but its head is completely gone. The cut at its neck is terrifyingly smooth, like the sharpest laser cleanly slicing through fur, blood vessels, bone, and nerves, all perfectly severed, without a single rough edge. You close your eyes instinctively, sinking your consciousness into your pocket dimension. The next second, your body shudders. That hideous wolf head is quietly floating right in the center of that tiny 1 cubic meter space, its eyes still frozen in savage rage and shock, the slice equally glassy and smooth. You finally understand. The true terror of your ability was never storage, but the boundary of the space itself. As long as something crosses that border, whether flesh, bone, or steel, the spatial law shears it clean off. This is no ordinary strike. It ignores physics and defense, bypassing any gap in raw power. It is an absolute concept level cut. Is a tier 2 beast skull tough? It still splits right in two. From now on, what of fire powers, hardening abilities, or unbreakable bodies? If they cannot withstand spatial law, they are completely worthless. The useless skill in everyone's eyes has finally revealed its true lethal fangs. Staring at the wolf head inside, your mouth slowly curls into a grin, unable to suppress a surge of pure ecstasy from carving a path out of despair. You let out a low, mad laugh. Your crazy laughter echoes down the rainy alley, filled with the sheer madness of survival, cold now that you see fate's hand. But you quickly force yourself to calm down, because celebrating is not the priority right now. It's money. Fighting through the tearing pain in your body, you pull out your cheap folding knife. Recalling the basic skills from your time processing beast materials in the black market, you slice open the shadow wolf's chest. Right next to its heart, you quickly dig out a fist-sized crystal, glowing with a faint blue light, a tier 2 beast core, a perfectly intact shadow-type core at that. Official channels require a license to trade these, but in the underground black market, it is the ultimate currency. Conservative estimate, this core is worth 300,000 star coins. That easily covers your sister's medical bills, with plenty of cash left over. You slip the core into your storage space, then move fast to clean up the scene. The wolf's carcass gets dragged to a hidden corner nearby. You scatter a few scraps of meat, making it look like a beast attack or a gang fight that was hastily abandoned. Next, you strip off your blood-stained school uniform and toss it straight into a dirty dumpster. That uniform represented your obedient, helpless student identity. Starting right now, that kid is gone. You rummage through the trash and pull out a baggy black hooded coat. Using the last few coins in your pocket, At a cheap street stall, you buy a cheap white plastic mask. A creepy frozen smile is painted right across the front. You pull up your hood. You snap on the mask. A completely new figure appears in the mirror. From now on, that student no longer exists. All that remains of Linan is a predator stalking the night and hunting from the shadows. You give yourself a new codename, 00. It stands for having absolutely nothing and the beginning of everything. Half an hour later, you reach the biggest black market in Jiangcheng, the Black Gold Market. Its entrance hides deep inside an abandoned parking garage. Two massive guards stand at the door, their waistbands bulging suspiciously. They're definitely carrying weapons. Seeing you in a smiling mask and a tattered trench coat, they immediately write you off as an easy target. Hold it right there. Scarface growls, sizing you up with hostile eyes. Where did this punk come from? Wearing a cheap mask to play tough, do you even know the rules? The other guard, a bald guy, cuts in. He steps out to block you. Want in? Pay a 100 star coin entry fee. You stop in your tracks, staying dead silent. You just calmly sweep your eyes across both of them, finally letting your gaze settle on the weapon at Scarface's waist. Under 1 meter. Perfect. When you don't say a word, Scarface reaches for his gun. But before he can even draw it, your mental power strikes with precision, piercing the space inside the barrel and shearing right through the steel. With a sharp clack, half the barrel hits the ground. The sliced edge is smooth as glass. Both guards freeze instantly. Scarface stares down in shock at the weapon cut cleanly in half, then at the severed metal on the floor. A sudden chill surges straight up his spine. They didn't even see what you did. All he sees is the special alloy barrel, snapped in half by some invisible monster, had bitten it off out of thin air. The unknown is far scarier than mere power. The bald guy pulls his hand back instantly, squeezing out a nervous smile. Please, come in. You don't even give them a second look, walking straight into this lawless, brutal place. A dark underground world built purely on profit. Inside, the Black Gold Market is vastly larger than it looks, and infinitely more chaotic. The air is thick with machine oil, cheap booze, and the metallic tang of ozone. Buzzing neon signs light up the faces around you, keeping them half lost in shadow. Mercenaries stomp past in heavy exoskeletons, dark figures dealing banned street drugs, while tucked away in dark corners, shady brokers swap secrets and fresh bounty lists. You waste no time at all, heading straight for the center of the market, toward its grandest 3-story building, the Black Gold Chamber. Behind the counter, a massive 200-pound merchant hunches over, polishing a raw gemstone. Without even looking up, he grunts, "What are you selling?" You don't say a word. Instead, you just hold your hand over the counter. With a single thought, thud, that fist-sized metal container, swirling with a deep, eerie blue glow, lands with a heavy thud on the counter. The fat merchant suddenly freezes, slowly lifting his head. The raw greed in his eyes is barely hidden. But as a seasoned black market veteran, the look of shock on his face vanishes in half a second, replaced by a look of disdain. He picks up the container, putting on a show of inspecting it, then carelessly tosses it back on the counter. Poor quality. Impure energy, it barely hits Tier 2 standard. 100,000. Take it or leave it. This is not just a lowball offer. It is practically daylight robbery. Yet, you show no anger, nor do you try to bargain. You just let out a quiet scoff. Raising your hand, you recall the Golden River back into your space. You turn around and walk away. The fat man instantly panics. Only amateurs who do not know the market would desperately haggle. But turning around and walking away like that only proves you know the trade better than he does. Wait, we can negotiate the price. You do not stop. 200,000, you keep going. 250,000. I cannot go any higher. Only then do you finally stop walking. You turn halfway around. Your smiling mask looks deeply sinister under the dim lights. 300,000. Put it on an anonymous black card. The fat man's face twitches slightly. But in the end, he grits his teeth and agrees. Soon, a solid black card, without any markings, is slid right in front of you. You pick up the black card and walk away. And the instant you step out of the guild gates, the smile on the fat man's face instantly vanishes. He looks toward a burly man drinking in the corner and makes a gesture to finish you off. The burly man grins and leads 4 other tattooed heavies as they tail you in silence. But you noticed those 5 tails right from the start. But more importantly, while walking, you casually test a new way to use your power. You pick up a small stone. The instant you take a step, you pull it into your space. Then, as your next foot hits the ground, you release it directly ahead. Instantly, that pebble, carrying your forward kinetic energy, blasts forward like a bullet. You immediately realize your storage space does not just cut things. It can also store and release kinetic energy. And just like that, a much more efficient counter-kill plan takes shape. You intentionally lead those 5 thugs on a wild goose chase through the black market's maze until you finally enter an abandoned lot, deep in the basement garage. Secluded and pitch black. No people, no security cameras. The perfect place to handle trouble. Sure enough, the moment you stop, those 5 guys instantly surround you from all sides, cutting off every single escape route. Their beefy leader holds an alloy machete, a cruel cat-and-mouse grin plastering his face. Quite a runner, huh? Hand over the card and empty your pockets of everything else. We are feeling generous today. Maybe we will let you off easy. You slowly turn around, a white smiley face. The mask looks deeply unsettling in the dim yellow light. You do not get angry or talk tough. Instead, you speak in a voice completely devoid of warmth. Asking them, are your heads worth anything? The leader freezes. He flies into a rage, gripping the blade tightly. He aims a vicious slash right at your head. The sharp edge rips through the air, howling down. Against any ordinary person, this blow would cleave them to the chest, but you do not retreat. Instead, you step directly into the slash. The split second the blade descends, the edge of space sweeps through the metal first. And so, the sharpest half of his blade vanishes into thin air. His hands feel suddenly light. Unbalanced by the empty swing, he stumbles forward hard. But you have already slid within 3 feet of him. Space opens. The edge wraps his neck. Space snaps shut, a clean slice. The raw fury on his face instantly freezes solid. His entire head, along with the tattoo on his neck, vanishes completely. A second later, crimson liquid fountains skyward from his severed neck. The headless body stands frozen, still lunging forward, hitting the ground hard. The air instantly went dead. The remaining 4 thugs froze. Their cruel grins froze instantly, leaving only pure, raw terror. They did not even see your move, only seeing a living man's head, just gone like that. Finally, someone screamed in terror, "Ghost!" The 4 spun and bolted, but you will not let them leave alive. You launch forward, gliding low like a sweeping shadow, closing in on the nearest one. He does not even have time to look. Just a sudden cold chill on his neck, and next second, total darkness. The second one falls. The third one falls. The fourth one falls. The fifth one falls. You make 0 wasted moves. Each strike is brutally simple. A lethal close-range neck snap. The whole thing took mere seconds, leaving only 5 bodies behind, scattered across the parking lot. Crimson liquid spreads quickly across the ground, like a canvas painted by hell, and you stand in the center, your black trench coat spotless, without a single drop. You crouch down, quietly searching through their pockets. A few minutes later, you stand, a pretty decent haul, several stacks of cash, about 30,000 Singapore dollars, and a finely crafted military alloy dagger. You slip the cash and dagger into your inventory then. You feel the black card in your inner pocket. 300,000 plus this 30,000 enough. Finally enough, through that eerie smiling mask, your eyes seem to pierce through the darkness, staring at that pale little face in the hospital ICU, those eyes, cold and utterly lifeless. At last, there was a trace of warmth. "Xiaxia, your brother has the money to save you now," you whisper softly. You carefully slide the black card back into your innermost pocket. Then, without another moment of hesitation, you turn and leave, leaving this parking lot filled with a thick stench of blood, abandoned to the deep darkness. Less than 5 minutes after you walk away, the rapid, heavy thud of rushed footsteps echoes through the area. The fat manager of the Black Gold Merchant Guild arrives with a dozen guards clutching glowing energy rifles, each looking fierce and ready to kill. They storm aggressively right into the middle of the abandoned parking lot. Where is he? Damn it! 5 against 1, and you useless idiots still let him escape? When we catch that brat, I am going to personally rip him. But the fat manager's furious cursing cuts off the very second he sees the scene before him. He goes dead silent. The fat on his pale face begins to quiver violently. Those tiny eyes, usually squeezed into narrow, squinty slits, are now stretched completely wide open. They are completely bloodshot. 5 dead bodies. 5 bodies with their heads cleanly severed from their shoulders. His most capable, trusted thug, the formidable gang leader who had successfully awakened a C-class hardened skin ability, was now lying face down in a pool of blood like a torn sack. The clean cut on his neck was so smooth it could act as a mirror. A sudden, bone-chilling coldness surges straight from the fat man's tailbone to the crown of his skull. With a sudden, heavy thud, His knees give out and he collapses flat on his butt right into the cold, sticky blood. His lips tremble uncontrollably and his teeth chatter wildly. "Look at this cut," he stammers, pointing directly at the mirror-smooth severed neck, his cracking voice filled with tears and an absolute paralyzing fear. There are no burns. There is no tearing. It is a spatial cut. To wield the laws of space with such surgical, absolute precision, and to such a terrifying degree means they are at least a peak B-class, no, an S-class spatial powerhouse of the highest order. The fat manager's brain instantly lets out a loud buzz, going completely blank. What kind of terrifying godlike entity had he actually managed to provoke? Since when did Jiangcheng get such a ruthless god of death? The night is deep. The rain has finally stopped. First, you put away the black trench coat symbolizing Ling, the smiling face mask, along with that stained military dagger, storing them all in your storage space. And then, you change back into the outfit salvaged from the trash, the old-school uniform you later washed clean. You sling on that faded, washed-out backpack, you once again become that completely ordinary-looking and even somewhat fair-looking student. But while clothes can be changed, your gaze can never go back. The boy who once carried insecurity and restraint has vanished forever into last night's rainy alley. Now, the new you has nothing but icy coldness and a sharp edge in your eyes. Then, you head straight to Jiangcheng City First Hospital. In front of the late-night payment window, the nurse on duty is dozing off. But as you slam that anonymous black card hard against the glass window, he is instantly startled, shaken so hard that his impatient look doesn't even have time to fully surface. You stare at him and say only, "ICU, basement. Use the best specialized medicine. Right now, immediately. It has 330,000. If that's not enough, I'll find a way." Your voice is incredibly raspy, leaving absolutely no room for negotiation. The nurse freezes first, then looks down to check the anonymous black card representing a massive fortune, then looks up at your cheap school uniform. His eyes are filled with pure disbelief. A boy dressed like a needy student, casually whipping out over 300,000 star coins. This stark contrast leaves him completely at a loss for words. But the balance on the black card does not lie. So in the end, he quickly changed his tune, scrambling to call the doctor to arrange the highest tier of treatment. Half an hour later, the latest gene-repairing serum was slowly injected into Lingxia's veins. Not until you saw your sister's paper-pale face finally start to regain a hint of color did your constantly frayed nerves finally begin to ease up. The hospital room is silent. You sit by the bed, smoothing her sweat-damp hair. Your touch is incredibly gentle, and only in a quiet moment like this does the chilling violence in your eyes that could freeze bone and kill slowly begin to fade away, softening into a clumsy protective tenderness. For you, Lingxia is your only anchor in this freezing, heartless world. She is your absolute red line. Yet as weak and sick as she is still incredibly sharp. Her eyelashes flutter, and she slowly opens her eyes, reaching out to squeeze your hand, whispering to ask if you did something dangerous. She smells the faint, metallic scent of blood that you just cannot hide, and senses the bone-deep chill rolling off you so unlike before. Your heart clenches in your chest, but you still manage to force a gentle smile, gently ruffling her hair like you always do, softly lying to her, "No, Big Brother just traded that school admission slot to a wealthy kid from a rich family to get the cash to treat you first." Hearing this, Lingxia's eyes instantly lose all their light. She knows exactly what that spot meant to you and just how much you have sacrificed over the years to finally secure it. Her eyes welling up with tears, she whispers that she is only holding you back, but you just playfully pinch her nose. Smiling like a little kid, you say, "It is just a stupid spot anyway. If it is gone, it is gone. Even if your brother quits school, I can still become the strongest person out there. Do not overthink things right now. Just focus on getting better. When you get better, I will take you for those candied haws down south." Once your sister Lin Xia falls back asleep, you gently tuck in her blanket and then quietly watch her for a long time. Only when you step out of the ward does the tiny bit of warmth remaining on your face completely vanish. It is replaced by a murderous intent colder than the night. Zhao Zhe stole your spot, insulted your sister, and trampled all over your dignity. It is time to settle this debt. Early the next morning, sunlight streams through the gates of Jiangcheng No. 1 High School. But when it falls on you, it feels as if it is blocked out by that invisible chill. Just like every day for the past 3 years, you walk into school with your old backpack. Only this time, you do not return to the classroom. Instead, You head straight to the administration office and pull out a registration form for the social martial artist exam. Since your guaranteed admission spot was stolen by Zhao Zi, the path through the school has been completely cut off. If that is so, you will take a much harder, more dangerous, but far more direct road. The social martial artist exam is incredibly risky. Those who enter either have no background or resources, ruthless people risking their lives for a future, or desperate souls forced into a corner with absolutely no way out. And you clearly belong to the latter group. But right as you step out of the office with the form, an incredibly grating voice echoes from down the hall. Well, well, look who it is. If it isn't our school's former genius, Lin An. You raise your eyes and see Zhao Zhe walking right toward you with his lackeys. He even had his arm wrapped around a heavily made-up female classmate. His face was practically dripping with smug triumph. He looked exactly like a winner who stepped on other people's bones to climb to the very top, only to turn around and mock the people he stepped on. He swaggered right up to you, deliberately sizing you up from head to toe, before opening his mouth to sneer. Did you skip class yesterday? He mocked just to stay home and cry? You couldn't care less. You turned, trying to walk right past him, but Zhao Zi shoved a heavy hand onto your shoulder. Then his gaze darted down, landing right on the registration form in your hand. He snatched it away and read the bold words, freezing in shock. Then, as if he had just heard the absolute funniest joke ever, he burst into hysterical laughter. Registration for the National Martial Artist exam? Hey, everyone, look at this. A loser who only awakened a level 1 storage space actually thinks he can take the Grandest exam. Are you seriously that tired of being alive? Or are you just delivering yourself as takeout to wild beasts? He yelled so loudly that a massive crowd of nearby students quickly gathered in the hallway. Some began whispering that you must have finally snapped from the pressure, while others shook their heads and sighed. They felt that someone with your weak abilities taking the exam was nothing short of suicide. Others just wanted to watch the drama unfold, eager to see you crushed into the dirt by Zhao Zi, and whether you would just bow your head and accept it. To every single one of them, your quiet endurance and silence in the past had long been mistaken for pure weakness. Because of that, they all assumed that this time would be absolutely no different. But right when everyone believed that was exactly what would happen, Zhao Zhe tossed your sign-up sheet onto the floor. Then he lifted his foot, wearing those limited edition boots worth tens of thousands of credits, and stomped down hard right onto it. Grinding his sole back and forth, he sneered down at you like dirt on his shoe. His voice dripped with pure venom. A complete loser belongs right where they belong. This sign-up paper is nothing but your delusional dream. I can crush it as easily as stepping on a helpless little ant. If this were before, you probably would have lowered your head, silently picking up that torn paper and swallowing all that bitter humiliation deep down inside. Too bad for him, things are different now. You slowly raise your head, with no furious roar on your face and no tears of humiliation in your eyes. There is only a terrifying cold silence. Those pitch black, terrifying eyes of yours are like two bottomless abysses swallowing all light. Then, without even a split second of warning, a heavy, deafening, muffled crash suddenly explodes down the length of the hallway. You drop your weight slightly, and in a flash, your right leg whips forward, turning into an almost completely invisible fading blur. A brutal, heavy, bone-shattering front kick slams directly into the center of Zhao Zhe's stomach. The strike is too fast and too heavy. Zhao Zi does not even have time to wipe that smug sneer off his face, before his body feels like it was hit by a charging high-speed beast. The impact folds him in half like a broken pocket knife, spraying a mouthful of stomach acid and bitter bile into the air. He is lifted off his feet, flying backward more than 3 full meters. Boom. With a loud crash, his back slams hard into the display board on the hallway wall. The thick tempered glass shatters instantly into a million pieces. Countless sharp shards rain down across the floor. The entire hallway falls dead silent. Nobody ever expected that you would actually fight back, and even less expected that you could break someone like Zhao Zhe with just one single kick. Zhao Zhe collapsed like wet mud, sliding down the pile of broken glass. He curled on the floor, deathly pale, too broken to even scream properly. But you just slowly withdrew your foot, still standing in place, as if that kick had not launched a man, but only casually brushed off some dust. But this was far from over. From the crowd behind Zhao Zi, a buzz-cut man suddenly stepped out from the pack. His temples bulged high, a terrifying aura exploding from him. The floor tiles actually cracked from his sheer stance. An Earth-class strength awakened. This was the personal bodyguard of Zhao Zhe, a hardened veteran straight from the military and a truly ruthless killer. Kid, you have got some nerve. With a thunderous roar, he charged at you like a cannonball. His massive, sandbag-sized fist screamed through the air straight for your face. The surrounding students instantly panicked. Screams and gasps erupted all at once, because everyone knew the truth. Against a brute of this caliber, a single bone-shattering punch was not an exaggeration. Yet you did not flinch. You did not back down. Instead, as that fist was about to graze your nose, you stepped right into it. More accurately, you were not charging blindly. Like a drop of water, you slipped fluidly past his guard, closing the distance to point-blank range. The bodyguard froze in shock, but then sneered in contempt, because in his mind, close combat, it's exactly what strength-type Awaken do best. So he immediately pivots his attack mid-motion, slamming both arms together in a bear hug. He wants to crush you, bones and organs alike, grinding everything into dust. Too bad he has absolutely no idea what being within 1 meter of you actually means. It isn't close combat. It's an execution. An invisible ripple of space flashes and vanishes. You don't even make a single extra move, just quietly releasing a single thought in your mind. Space open, edge covers his arm joints, space close. With a sickening, bone-chilling snap, the entire school, faculty and students alike, witnessed the most unforgettable sight of their lives. The bodyguard's 2 arms, just an inch before touching your skin, were suddenly severed cleanly at the elbows, the thick, heavy forearms and fists, still locked in that hugging motion, just abruptly detached from his body and hit the tiled floor with 2 heavy thuds. The cuts were smooth as mirrors. First, a dead silence. Then crimson liquid erupted, as if delayed by half a second, surging from those 2 eerily smooth stumps, bursting forth in a violent spray, instantly painting the white corridor walls with a massive fan-shaped pattern. The bodyguard stared down at his empty elbows, then at the 2 severed, twitching limbs on the floor. The ferocity on his face completely froze. Not until the agonizing pain finally hit his brain did he let out a savage, inhuman shriek, collapsing to his knees with a thud, thrashing on the ground like a beast being slaughtered. In this moment, the entire corridor became pin-drop silent. Everyone was completely frozen in shock because they hadn't even seen what you did. They couldn't catch a single trace of ability fluctuation or feel any active power at all. An Earth rank, strength type Awaken's arms gone just like that. But you just calmly step over Bao, howling in a pool of blood, taking step after step toward Zhao Zi. Right now, Zhao Zi is completely terrified out of his mind. His face is paper white as he scrambles backward on all fours. A wet spot quickly spreads across his pants. He has literally lost all control from pure terror. You walk right up to him and stop. Then, under hundreds of pairs of terrified, awestruck eyes and under their completely horrified stares, you slowly raise your foot. With your cheap, faded, worn-out sneaker, you stomp heavily onto Zhao Zi's swollen, distorted face. You press his head down, grinding it into the cold, glass-shattered floor. It is pure humiliation, a disgrace he has never felt before. You look down at the face under your foot, contorted by sheer absolute terror. Your voice isn't loud, but it cuts like an icy Arctic wind, sharp and crystal clear, piercing straight into the ears of everyone in the room. I don't give a damn about your guaranteed spot. At the grand exam, right in front of everyone, I will personally crush everything you are so proud of. With that, you slowly lift your foot, not even bothering to throw him another glance. You turn and lean down, reaching for the ground to pick up the dusty, footprint-stained social martial arts registration form. You gently brush off the dirt and dust, sling your old backpack over your shoulder, and walk through the crowd as they automatically part for you, striding away. Sunlight streams through the hallway windows, casting a long silhouette behind you. Lonely and silent, yet radiating a heavy, suffocating presence that no one dares to look at directly. But at that very moment, inside the principal's office, the old principal is staring at the security playback. His hands are visibly shaking. The footage freezes on the exact moment you severed the bodyguard's arms. There is no visible spiritual energy on display, no massive flashy energy fluctuations. Even the fabric of space itself is barely disturbed, leaving almost zero trace behind. But the quieter it is, the more terrifying the truth becomes. Because this means one thing. Your power is not about brute force. It operates directly on the fundamental rules of reality. The old principal grows more terrified by the second. He cannot even hold his teacup steady anymore. It drops and shatters on the floor. This is absolutely not some basic level 1 storage. It is the physical manifestation of spatial laws. At this moment, he finally realizes the truth. Zhang Shanghai has birthed a literal terrifying monster. He slams his hand down on the emergency button, ordering that your 3 minutes of security footage be immediately classified as S rank, sealing away all raw data with maximum security. Absolute lock, nobody is allowed to view it. But he does not stop there. He also demands a full search, pulling up your entire file from the past 3 years. He clearly wants to completely reevaluate you, the student everyone had written off as a total failure. But just as the school is waking up to your worth, the Zhao family has already decided to end your life. Inside the massive Zhao family villa, under the crystal chandelier, the air is freezing cold. Zhao Zi sits there with a horribly swollen face, thrashing on the couch, screaming bloody murder for revenge, swearing he will make you suffer and die. Meanwhile, Zhao Xiong stands by the French window, listening to the whole story without saying a word. Then he directly dials a heavily encrypted number. The man on the other end is called Hound. He leads a squad that handles the dirtiest jobs in the wilderness, a ruthless team of black market mercenaries. Zhao Xiong offers 10 million star coins right off the bat to buy your life. But after learning that in a single clash, you shattered the arms of an Earth-grade bodyguard, the Hounds immediately demanded a higher price, requiring an extra $5 million to upgrade their gear. And they made it clear that they would only stage an accident, leaving the mutated beasts to wipe away every single trace. The military would never suspect a thing. Zhao Xiong agreed without a single moment of hesitation. In his eyes, no matter what kind of monster you are, once you step into the wilderness, you will sooner or later become a shredded corpse torn apart by wild beasts. 3 days later, with only half a month left before the national ability exam, Jiang City's military, together with the Board of Education, organized the very last massive real combat training trial of the year. The location was Wilderness Zone 07, right outside the city. This final trial was the one that drove every single high school senior absolutely crazy, not only because it would directly affect their exam scores, but because the military had put up some incredibly generous rewards for them, especially the grand prize for the first place winner, a Tier 3 energy core that possessed an absolutely priceless astronomical value. This item alone was enough to make any awakened person burn with envy. The entire school sports field was packed with massive military hover buses, and the students gathered around in small groups, buzzing with nervous excitement, filled with tense anticipation. Meanwhile, you stood there with a ragged, worn-out tactical backpack, standing all alone in a far corner, looking completely out of place compared to everyone else. After that brutal fight in the hallway, no one dared to step within 3 meters of you. You were like a block of ice, or a literal black hole, forcing everyone to instinctively fear you and keep their distance. Yet, right at that moment, a stunningly eye-catching figure began weaving her way through the crowd and walked straight up to you. Su Shui, the school belle of Jiang City Yizhong High and the universally acknowledged top genius of their year. Having awakened an S-rank weapon mastery talent, she was someone who always stood at the very center of praise. She was dressed in a tight, form-fitting white combat suit, and her long, ice-blue hair was exceptionally striking under the brilliant sunlight. He looks like a beautiful, razor-sharp blade of ice. He stares right at you. His tone carries a slight warning, mixed with a bit of his usual condescending arrogance. The wilderness is no school hallway. A level 1 rookie like you had better stick with the main group. Don't lose your life just to show off. From his perspective, this might actually pass as good intentions. But to you, this brand of goodwill, built on being superior, which demands that you must obey him, is nothing but annoying noise. So you merely look up and glance at him, and coldly mutter 2 words, too noisy. Su Shui freezes on the spot. He clearly never expected that humbling himself to offer a warning would only buy him those 2 words. A wave of anger instantly rushes over him. With a cold face, he spins around and walks off, throwing back, "Ungrateful fool. Let's see how you crash and burn out there." But you just lower your head again, as if nothing had ever happened. To you, completely irrelevant people and their pointless words are nothing but background noise. Soon, the hover bus passes through the massive alloy gates, entering Wilderness Area 07. This place is another world entirely. Towering mutant trees stretch into the clouds, with massive, tangled vines sprawling everywhere, damp, foul air, and the constant feeling of being watched from the shadows. Just about everything reminds you that this is no training ground, but a place where you can actually die. At the instructor's command, thousands of students immediately flood into the jungle. Most of them are smart, choosing to team up right away, in groups of dozens. They cautiously hunt Tier 1 beasts in the outer zone. After all, for ordinary high school seniors, minor wolves and iron-skin boars are already dangerous enough. But you didn't join any team. The moment you stepped into the jungle, you left the crowd behind and walked deep into the forest alone, heading straight for the bright red zone, marked on the map as Tier 2, the active beast territory. Others fear the danger, so they stick together. But you only want efficiency. The dense forest is dim. Normally, after a few steps, one would worry what might leap from behind trees. But your mental power has already spread out like invisible radar. Within a 100-meter radius, nothing escapes your absolute perception. And so the hunt begins. 30 meters to your front left, a Tier 2 venomous python coils in a tree, flicking its tongue, waiting for its prey to arrive. You don't even slow down. As you pass, space tears open and closes. Its head is already gone. A Tier 2 clawed cat devouring a carcass is incredibly fast with deadly pouncing skills. But as it leaps out before landing, its head vanishes into thin air, leaving a headless body to tumble forward. And then, the famously armored rock pangolin. Its shell can withstand any normal blade. But the moment it half emerges from underground, both armor and flesh are sliced cleanly in half by space. Every time you kill one, you extract the crystal core into your storage. Your movements are effortless, cool, and highly efficient. Hardly any wasted movement. And the numbers on your military wristband are ticking up rapidly. 100, 220, 375, 10, 880. On the Trial Command Center's screen, your name shoots up like a rocket, soaring from thousands of spots back, straight into the top 100. And it keeps on climbing. But just as you slice open another venomous python and grab the golden core in your hand, a terrifying chill of being targeted by danger explodes straight up your spine. Without a single thought, your physical instincts move faster than your conscious mind. You throw yourself forward, rolling straight into the nearby bushes. At that exact same moment, a massive, thumb-thick, large-caliber sniper bullet shrieks through the air with a piercing whistle, grazing the exact spot where you just stood, slamming violently into the massive tree behind you, and the trunk completely explodes, sending wood splinters flying. This shot is way past a standard trial. It's a professional assassination. Crouching in the dark brush, your eyes turn ice cold. An armor-piercing round, fired from a kilometer away. Add to that this obviously pre-planned ambush route, except for the Zhao family. You can't think of anyone else. They want you dead, then none of them are leaving alive. On the hilltop, a kilometer away, the sniper is frowning. He originally thought this would be the easiest job of his life. But that evasive maneuver you just pulled was far too professional for a student. Instead, you moved like a wild wolf who survived the wilderness for years. Right on cue, the hound squad starts tightening their circle. 5 men split into 2 flanks, pressing in from the front. They want to corner and trap you here as fast as possible, but they think they are the ones hunting you. Little do they know, the real hunter never just waits in the middle to die. Your mental power has already locked onto all 5 of their positions, their distance, and their exact paths. So instead of running away, you press close to the shadowed ground and brush, slipping like a phantom in their direction, cutting straight through the weakest link of their circle. Number 3 is the first to go. He tightly grips his tactical rifle, carefully sweeping the area ahead, never suspecting danger wouldn't come from the front, but from directly above him. Just as he passes under a massive tree, you are already hanging like a bat, upside down from the dark canopy. The moment he looks up, you are already within 1 meter of him, clamping down over his helmet and skull, then snapping shut with a barely audible wet crunch. The Hound Squad member didn't even have time to shout out a single warning before everything above his neck completely disappears. You catch his limp body, gently propping him against the tree, without letting it make a single sound. Soon, number 4 is sent to check on him. At a glance, he spots the strangely slumped, yet completely headless body. In that exact moment, absolute terror paralyzes him. Even his radio report carries a noticeable tremble, but the very split second his focus slips, you strike again from the side shadows, blurring past him, and taking his head too. In just 1 short minute, the Hound Squad has lost 2 men, and both were silent executions. Now, even the battle-hardened Hound Captain is truly panicking. He finally realizes The target he chose this time was no ordinary student. Instead, he was a monster lurking in the shadows. A silent devil who harvests lives without a trace. Yes, he roared on the spot, ordering everyone to gather close. Simultaneously, his superpower erupted with full fury. C-rank wind ability, Windblade Storm. Countless spinning green wind blades instantly filled the air, tearing and shredding in every direction. Ancient trees, vines, even shrubs were sliced up like wet paper. Every inch of cover was violently cleared into a ruined clearing, and you finally appeared right in his sight. A savage grin instantly spread across his face, believing he had finally backed you into a corner. Meanwhile, 1,000 meters away, the sniper, watching this entire zone, instantly locked his crosshairs onto your forehead and pulled the trigger without a second thought. Bang! This shot was at a fatal angle, but you didn't dodge. Just as the armor-piercing round almost touched your skin, spinning on its path, even ruffling the hair on your forehead, just a single centimeter away, a tiny, almost invisible pocket dimension silently opened wide. The bullet, powerful enough to pierce tank armor along with all its devastating kinetic energy, was instantly swallowed whole by the void. No explosion occurred, no course change, not even a single ripple remained. The storm cleared. Dust settled slowly in the clearing. You still stood there, completely calm, absolutely untouched. This sight left the captain's brain totally blank for a second. But you slowly turned your head, gazing across 1,000 meters, locking directly onto the sniper's ridge. Your lips parted, spat out only 3 words, "Back to you." The next second, the void before him ripples open. The bullet that was just trapped in space blasts back at the exact same speed and the exact same angle. It screams out, retracing its path. Up on the ridge, the sniper didn't even have time to blink. Through his scope, he only saw a black dot rushing forward, expanding instantly. Then, bang, the high-precision rifle in his hands, and his custom scope shattered on the spot. The bullet he had just fired drilled cleanly into his right eye, blowing his entire head right off. A brief shriek cut through the comms, then absolute dead silence. At that moment, Captain Bloodhound finally understood. The target he had crossed was no ordinary talented student. He was a total monster. His first instinct wasn't to fight back, but to flee, unleashing his wind powers. Gales swirled at his feet as he bolted, conjuring his ultimate defense in front of him, the wind barrier. But the brutal reality was, wind is an element, but space governs it. Before the absolute laws of space, his wall, capable of deflecting tank shells, was no thicker than paper. It cut right through, unchecked, without a single sound, like passing through a thin mist, closing in within a meter of him. A hand gesture, space snapped, slap, his head flew off. In those severed eyes, pure shock and terror still lingered. As for his headless corpse, it stood frozen for 2 seconds, before a fountain of crimson erupted and crashed heavily to the ground. With that, all 5 members of the Hound Squad are wiped out. From the very first gunshot to the captain getting decapitated, the whole thing took less than 3 minutes. You don't rush to loot the bodies just yet. Instead, you check the scene first, because you know all too well, with professional dirty work like this, the real prize isn't in their weapons, nor is it in their backpacks. It is in their communication logs. And, sure enough, you dig through the captain's tactical vest and pull out a military communicator, its screen still faintly glowing. The exact second you pick it up, Zhao Xiong's tense, sinister voice cracks through, sounding incredibly dark and cold. "Hound, is the job taken care of? Did you use the beast-luring box I had you prepare? Just throw that thing on him, and every Tier 2 beast for miles around will swarm him. They will tear him to shreds, and the military will write it off as a tragic accident." As you listen, your hands freeze. But the fury building in your eyes is no longer just pure bloodlust, because you finally realize what the Zhao family wants to do this time was never just about using the wilderness to eliminate you. Their actual plan is to use the beast-luring incense scent to turn the entire outer trial zone into a slaughterhouse, using the lives of countless candidates to pave a brilliant, glorious path for Zhao Zhe to claim first place. In other words, they want to step on everyone's corpses to put him on top. You casually crush the communicator in your hand, then turn around and search the Hound Captain's backpack. Seconds later, you find several burnt-out, dark red incense stubs resting in your palm. That sickeningly sweet, nauseating smell instantly confirms Zhao Zhong's warning. High-concentration beast-luring incense. And it wasn't just one. The Zhao family is insane. Right at that very instant, the ground began to shake violently. It wasn't some minor tremor, but like the earth tearing itself apart. Dirt and leaves literally bounced under your feet. Then, deafening beast roars erupted from every direction. Massive trees came crashing down, sending thick dust into the sky. Countless glowing crimson eyes lit up the forest, charging madly toward the outer trial zone. A stampede born of human malice, far exceeding the terrifying threat level of this trial. With your strength, you could easily walk away. If you just hide, no beast could ever easily find you. But here is the problem. If this stampede destroys the outer camp, causing massive casualties amongst the students, then this highly anticipated nationwide exam will likely be postponed or outright canceled. And if that happens, everything you had carefully planned to publicly crush Zhao Zi with your own hands and claim first place, taking that level 3 energy core, will be completely ruined by the Zhao family. In that case, there is no way you can ignore this stampede. No one blocks your path. Not the Zhao family, and definitely not these beasts. So, you do not retreat. Instead, you charge right into that terrifying tide of monstrous beasts, hitting them head on. At the same time, in Sector C of Wilderness Area 07, things have fallen into absolute chaos. Zhu Shu is leading a dozen students, defending the line. He repeatedly conjures ice walls, barely holding back the first wave of horned wolves and armored boars. But those ice walls were quickly covered in deep cracks. Outside, the beasts crashed and tore at the wall like crazy. The students looked on, their faces completely pale with terror. It was obvious they couldn't hold on much longer. Someone cried out, asking what they should do. Others brought up Zhao Zi's name in sheer panic. Didn't he always brag about being a powerful warrior? Why is he suddenly nowhere to be found right now? Then a girl screamed out with tears streaming down her face. Don't even count on him. When that horned wolf lunged at us earlier, he literally shoved Li Ming forward to block the hit, and then he just ran off. That single sentence completely crushed the last bit of hope everyone had left. Zhao Zi, the rich kid who always acted so tough and constantly tried to suck up to Su Shui, at a true moment of life and death, the very first thing he did was actually using a classmate's life just to buy himself time to escape. Zhu Shui was both shocked and furious, but there was simply no time to curse him out, because the next wave of beasts was already here. With the ice wall on the verge of shattering, he gritted his teeth and forced himself to overdraw his power, pressing his hands to the ground, and immediately unleashed his ultimate wide-range trump card, the Ice Age. Instantly, an ice-blue cold current exploded outward in all directions. Freezing frost instantly blanketed the entire area for nearly 100 meters. Over a dozen first-tier beasts that were charging forward were instantly frozen solid into ice sculpture. With that, he temporarily forced the chaotic situation under control. But a high-tier skill of this caliber was far too demanding on his body right now. The moment the spell ended, he violently coughed up a mouthful of blood, collapsing heavily onto one knee. His face was terrifyingly pale, his internal energy reserves almost completely drained. But right at this exact moment of his extreme exhaustion, the earth in front of him suddenly exploded, sending dirt and debris flying high into the air. A massive beast over 15 meters long, coated in pitch-black armor plating, resembling a prehistoric giant crocodile, yet boasting a single horn, a terrifying beast, bursting out from deep underground. The level 3 bronze-rank ironclad earth dragon emerged. Every single student fell into despair, because this was absolutely not meant for high school trials, and certainly not for this group, already pushed to their limits by level 1 beasts, to ever stand a chance against. Su Shui knew this all too well. Her inner energy was completely depleted, too weak to even lift a single finger. She could only watch the ironclad earth dragon lower its massive head, open its jaws full of razor-sharp fangs, and snap down violently right at her. A foul, bloody stench washed over her. Death was mere inches away. Closing her eyes in utter despair, just then whoosh, a streak of black light tore through the dim forest canopy, from the high treetops, defying all laws of physics, crashing down with furious force. Boom. An earth-shaking blast rattled the ground. The dark silhouette, like a meteor, slammed down just half a meter from her. A violent shockwave of shattered dirt exploded in all directions, even forcing the ironclad dragon to jerk its massive head back. Su Shui snapped her eyes open. What she saw was a back, a frame not particularly broad, yet seemingly able to hold up the sky, wearing a faded, washed-out backpack, standing there in absolute silence, right inside a deep half-meter crater. At his feet lay the dragon's terrifying fanged jaws, just inches away. Lin An. It feels like time just hit the pause button. The wind whips the hair from your forehead. In your hand, you still grip the standard alloy blade, salvaged from the remains of Captain Hound. Your silhouette standing there is not particularly towering, but it stands like a mountain, forcefully blocking the path between Su Shui and that level 3 copper ridge, shielding her completely from the blood and carnage. Su Shui freezes in shock first, and then her face pales completely. She screams in panic, Lin An. Are you crazy? Run! That is a level 3 copper ridge beast. Even armor-piercing rounds cannot break through its defense. You will die. Yet you do not even look back. The armored earth dragon is clearly furious now. It unleashes a deafening roar, the sound waves knocking nearby students unconscious. Then its massive tail covered in bone spikes sweeps forward like a giant steel whip, shattering massive trees and rocks in its path, utterly obliterating everything. A head-on clash means certain defeat. But if you retreat, everyone behind you is as good as dead. In a split second, your mind instantly calculates the options. 1 cubic meter of space cannot contain this entire massive beast. Conventional cutting will barely scratch it. To take it down, you must strike at its weakest spot. Go straight for the vitals. Just as that whip-like dragon tail is about to crush you, you snap your waist backward at a seemingly impossible angle, barely dodging the strike as it grazes your nose. Then, instead of backing down, you kick off hard from the ground, launching yourself like a fired cannonball, straight toward the armored earth dragon. Su Shui watches, her face turning pale. To Bai, this was no battle. It was suicide. Sure enough, seeing it strike miss, the beast raised its truck-sized claw and brought it crashing down on you. Yet, miraculously, at the exact moment the shadow swallowed you, your charging body suddenly dropped low. With a desperate, full-speed slide through the gap under the falling claw, you narrowly slipped right under its belly. Boom! The claw slammed down, blasting a deep crater into the earth. Su Shui watched this through her fingers, completely paralyzed with shock. She knew, of course, that the underbelly was the monster's weakest spot. But that was only relative. The scales there were still ridiculously thick, impossible for any normal attack to pierce. But you never planned on piercing them anyway. Under the beast, the space was cramped with foul slime and mud dripping down. You stabilized yourself, tossing aside the now useless alloy weapon, then quickly looked up. Relying on your perception, you locked on, focusing entirely on the wildly beating heart inside. In the next second, you slowly raised your hands and pressed them hard against the cold, hard scales. No slashing, no heavy strikes, just an eerie, delicate touch. Silently, spatial ripples passed right through the armor, expanding directly inside the beast's chest cavity. At this moment, your eyes grew cold as judgment. Shatter, the command echoed. A single cubic meter of absolute darkness instantly enveloped the heart, a heart the size of a car, and violently collapsed. With a sickening squelch, a muffled slicing sound echoed from deep within. The armored earth dragon's earth-shaking roar cut off instantly. Its massive body suddenly stiffened up. The fury and madness in its scarlet eyes rapidly drained away, leaving only a primal, instinctive confusion and absolute terror. Physically, it was completely unharmed, but it could clearly feel the source of its entire power was suddenly gone. But you had already seized the moment it froze, slipping out from under its massive belly, without even looking back. 2 seconds later, boom, that mountain-like armored beast completely lost its footing and crashed down hard. The ground shook violently. Amidst the billowing dust, Su Shui stared blankly at the woundless beast, a completely lifeless Tier 3 commander. She looked completely hollowed out. Her Ice Age couldn't even stall it for a second, while you, the one everyone mocked as F-tier trash, killed it on the spot with a single touch. This wasn't just a gap in strength. It was something she couldn't even comprehend. Meanwhile, you walked right up to the beast. With a single thought, a massive, tire-sized earth dragon's heart, cut smooth as a mirror, thudded heavily into the mud. You expressionlessly thrust your hand inside and quickly pulled out a fist-sized, patch black, diamond-shaped crystal pulsing with internal lava. A Tier 3 commander, Earth Dragon Crystal Core. Su Shui finally found her voice. Rasping out, Lin An, what are you? But you just spared her a cold glance. The words out of my way cut off all her questions. Then you grabbed the Earth Dragon's towering horn, taking a deep breath. By sheer force, You dragged a massive behemoth weighing dozens of tons, right off the ground, walking step by step towards the direction of the trial camp. Your back, though not particularly broad or hulking, dragging along a mountain-like colossal beast through the dim forest and echoing roars of monsters, looked like a divine warrior in a mythic painting. Su Shui stared directly at this unbelievable scene, recalling how their fleeing classmate Zhao Zhe had run for his life. All the disgust and contempt in her heart reached its absolute peak. At the exact same time, your silhouette was branded like a hot iron deeply into the very depths of her mind. Meanwhile, back at the base, the temporary camp in Wilderness Area 07 had fallen into complete chaos. The outer defensive lines were on the verge of collapsing. Soldiers were desperately trying to evacuate the panicked students. Inside the command headquarters, the colonel glared at the radar as a massive wave of red dots closed in, his face turning completely pale and livid with rage, furiously chewing out the intelligence department. But right at that moment, Zhao Zhe scrambled in on his hands and knees, collapsing onto the floor. Tearfully, he sobbed at the top of his lungs. "Commander, I know exactly how this beast tide started. It was Lin An. It's all because of that useless low-tier garbage." The colonel's brow furrowed, demanding that he explain clearly. Without wasting a second, Zhao Zi began to completely spin the truth, claiming you had somehow gotten your hands on a high-concentration beast lure and threw it all around, threatening to drag everyone down to hell with you. In other words, he wanted to exploit the chance of your death in the monster horde, to dump every single drop of blame onto your shoulders, while painting himself as the hero who exposed the truth. As the colonel's expression grew darker and darker, Zhao Zi gloated silently inside, preparing to pour more fuel on the fire. But right at that very second, a series of footsteps so heavy they made the ground violently shake, echoed loudly from the entrance of the camp. Thud, 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 and the sound was drawing closer. Every step you take seems to stomp on their hearts. Soon the thick mist slowly peels back. Under everyone's completely terrified, wide-eyed stares, you drag a mountain-sized, Tier 3 Copper Ridge beast with one hand, the massive corpse of the armored Earth Dragon. Step by step, you enter the camp. You are covered in mist, your face completely cold, looking like a demon rising straight from hell. You ignore every single stare and walk straight up to Zhao Zi. Then, you take the Hound Squad's gear in your other hand, their tactical backpack, and the communicator you crushed into scrap metal, slamming them down violently at his feet. "The Zhao family owes me an explanation. Did you guys happen to drop these?" At this, all sound is instantly sucked out of the camp. The grief and anger on Zhao Zhe's face immediately freeze, replaced instead by a look of sheer terror. He looks pale as a ghost. He even blurts out, "You are not dead?" Only then does he realize he just basically confessed to everything. You don't even bother answering. You just kick the backpack open. Burnt out, dark red incense tips, the Hound Squad captain's identification badge, and that communicator, still glowing with a faint light, all tumble out onto the ground. Then you press the play button. Zhao Xiang's grim and desperate voice instantly echoes through the entire camp over the speaker. "Just throw that thing on him, and every Tier 2 beast within 10 miles will be lured over. There won't even be bones left. The military will just write it off as an accident." The proof is absolute. The crowd instantly erupts. It really was the Zhao family, hiring killers and trying to get us all killed. Zhao Zhe is absolute scum. At this exact moment, the colonel's face looks incredibly grim, but Zhao Zhe refuses to yield. Slumped on the ground, he screams, "How could a level 1 like you ever possibly wipe out the entire Hound Squad? And how could you drag back a level 3 Earthcage's giant corpse? This is a total setup." At those words, you finally let out a cold sneer. Slowly, you raise your hand holding up a dirty, blood-stained student tracking bracelet for all to see. Are you trying to say, a level 1 just happened to pick up evidence of your crime? The next second, you force your way past the bracelet security, projecting a clear video feed onto the command center's giant screen. On screen, a massive wolf lunges forward. Instead of stepping up to help his classmate, Zhao Zi violently shoves Li Ming right into the beast's path, to block it, running away without a single backward glance. At the very end, the video freezes on his face, twisted with wild and malicious frantic excitement. If the audio recording only made the crowd angry, this footage instantly ignites a raw desire to kill him. "Zhao Zhe, pay for my brother's life. Scum like him doesn't deserve to live." Right at that moment, Su Shui arrives on the scene supported by several other girls. Her face is pale, but she still grits her teeth to testify. "I can prove it." Zhao Zi abandoned his fellow classmate to save his own skin. And it was Lin An who saved every single one of us. With an S-class genius stepping forward to testify against him, Zhao Zi's absolute last hope of defense is completely crushed. The colonel takes a deep breath, spinning around to order the enforcement guards to seize him, throw him in prison, and send him to military court. Zhao Zi completely collapses. He screams in sheer terror, but just as the guards are about to grab hold of him, "Who dares touch my son?" A thunderous roar suddenly explodes through the air. A terrifying Tier 5 pressure that literally freezes the air suddenly sweeps across the entire room. Almost all of the students drop to their knees. The weaker ones pass out cold on the spot. Then a lavishly dressed middle-aged figure flashes forward, instantly materializing right in front of Zhao Zi, shielding the boy behind his back. Zhao Xiong, head of the Zhao family. He does not even glance at the evidence on the ground. Instead, he glares dead at you. Pure killing intent flares in his eyes. "You brat, how dare you slander me and ruin my family's reputation. Nobody is saving you today." Before his voice even fades, a massive claw of raw energy is already ripping down towards your head. Is level 5 supposed to be strong? You just stand your ground. Not a single trace of fear in your eyes. Instead, your eyes hold nothing but pure, provoked desire to destroy. Your spatial energy is already silently warping right between your eyes. Prepare to take a heavy hit yourself, just to tear off one of Zhao Zhong's arms. But right at this critical split second, a roar booms, impudent. A voice far more domineering than Zhao Zhong suddenly explodes right in front of you. Without you realizing, the colonel is already standing in front of you. He uses no fancy moves, just throws a single simple punch. The result? Zhao Zhong's massive energy clatters into pieces instantly. The terrifying force slams directly into Zhu Zhong's chest, sending him flying backward as he coughs up blood. He crashes through several military tents before hitting the dirt hard, devastated by a single punch. Level 5 versus level 6, the colonel slowly lowers his fist. His gaze is chillingly cold. "Inside my military camp, you dare to openly execute a military witness and the champion of this trial? Zhao Xiong, do you want your entire family buried with you?" This single sentence completely seals the fate of the Zhao father and son. Very quickly, both Zhao Xiong and Zhao Zi are dragged away like broken sacks. As for the conspiracy so carefully plotted by the Zhao family, it is completely exposed right in front of everyone. The camp is dead silent. As every student looks at you, their shock has turned to deep awe and even fear. When the colonel turns to look at you, the anger in his eyes has faded, replaced instead by undisguised admiration and intense pride. "Lin An, you killed the Tier 3 ironclad Earth Dragon and exposed the criminals, saving your classmates without standing merit. By the unanimous decision of headquarters, you are the champion of this joint trial." With those words, he takes a custom metal case from his adjutant and holds it out to you. "This is your reward, a Tier 3 Earth Dragon energy core." Then, he drops an offer that would drive countless people absolutely mad. "Furthermore, on behalf of the Eastern Military District, I officially invite you. Would you like to skip all the usual procedures and join the Kanglong Special Forces directly?" You take the case, feeling the surging energy radiating inside, and the heavy weight in your chest finally lightens. Yet you still look up, slowly shaking your head. "I'm sorry, sir. Before I enlist, I have to use this to save my sister's life." You practically sprint all the way back to the first central hospital, but fate seems to be deliberately mocking you. Pushing open the ICU door, the peaceful scene of your sleeping sister is nowhere to be found, replaced instead by an ear-splitting alarm. The room is freezing cold like an ice cellar. On the bed, Ling Xiao is covered in a visible layer of frost. Even the metal railings and the bed sheets are frosted over with jagged ice crystals. Her lips are pale blue, and her breathing has almost stopped. The vital stats on the monitor, while the monitors flash red frantically. Your mind goes blank as you rush to the attending doctor's side. Your voice is hoarse. "What's going on? Wasn't she doing totally fine before I left?" The doctor is dripping with cold sweat. Gasping for breath, he manages to choke out that it mutated. The abyss frost disease inside your little sister's body has suddenly undergone a malignant mutation. That chilling energy seems to have gained its own consciousness. It is actively rejecting and devouring all external energy. The gentle energy solution we just tried to inject into her has been completely frozen. At this point, he glances down at the metal case in your hand. His eyes look as if he has spotted a saving lifeline, yet also like staring at a literal death warrant. The energy of that Tier 3 core is simply too violent. Using it right now will absolutely not save her life. Instead, it is like pouring water into boiling oil. It will instantly detonate the frost inside her body, causing her to turn into ice crystals on the spot. Those words instantly shatter the hope you risked your life to find, completely crushing it. You freeze on the spot, slowly looking over at the hospital bed, at the little girl whose eyelashes are frosted over. All emotion is suddenly drained from your face, leaving only a deadly hollow calm. Then what do we do? The doctor swallows hard. He offers the only possible answer. Within 3 days, we must find a crystal core with perfectly matching attributes, a tier 4 ice core with the absolute purest energy. Only by relying on it to soothe her, rather than fighting against the mutated frost inside her body, will she have any chance of survival. 3 days, a tier 4 ice core. This is practically an impossible task. A tier 4 crystal core is already a strategic resource, let alone an ice attribute one. Cores like that are incredibly rare at this level. There is no way you will find it on the open market. Even if the military's 5th vault has it, it is way beyond your reach right now. So you did not waste another breath. You just silently walked out of the room, standing at the very end of the hallway. You pulled out an old, black burner phone and sent a single encrypted message. Seeking tier 4 ice-wide Golden River, delivery within 3 days. Price is no object. The phone buzzed almost immediately. Open market 0, 5th military vault, 3 pieces, clearance insufficient, unable to redeem. The only lead you have is this. Tonight, the Jiangcheng Underground Arena hosts the 100-man gauntlet. It is the reward for the final victor. The arena is the bloodiest part of Jiangcheng's underworld, a lawless, chaotic madhouse. And the 100-man gauntlet? It means fighting 100 vicious killers in a single night, desperados handpicked from prisons, battlefields, and the wastelands. A fight to the death. Zero rest in between. In over a century, only 3 have survived. The failure rate is practically 100%. You glance at the flashing red light of the ICU, just behind the door. Every shred of hesitation in your eyes vanished. Since you have no other choice, then you will fight your way out. Deep in the abandoned industrial district stands a derelict abandoned steel refinery. Its interior has been rebuilt into a massive underground cage. The air was thick with sweat, alcohol, and cheap smoke. Deafening heavy metal music blasted through the speakers. Thousands of spectators roared like absolute madmen. Wearing a pale, stiff, smiling mask, you stepped backstage. At the registration desk, a burly man with a scorpion tattoo only gave you a passing glance, then sneered and told you to scram. He said, "This is the Asura Arena, not some playground for little kids." You did not argue with him. You simply picked up the stained liability waiver. You bite down hard on your own thumb. Warm blood wells up. Your face is blank as you take that warm, fresh, bloody smear and slam it onto the signature line. Then you look up, staring at him through your stiff, smiling mask. Cut the crap. Are those 100 opponents fighting at once or lining up? That brute had survived this bloody arena for over a decade. He had seen desperate outlaws and absolute madmen, but your single glare still sends a cold shiver down his spine. He does not even say another word. He just hands you a black tag, number 9527. Then, you turn and stride toward the iron gate leading to hell. Your first opponent is Hei Yuan, a peak level 2 beast mutant, standing over 2.5 meters tall, covered in coarse black fur, boasting monstrous, unstoppable strength, and infamous for his absolute brutality. The crowd in the stands is jeering and laughing, convinced that your scrawny, fragile frame is barely enough to fit between his teeth. But the moment the referee yells start, Hei Yuan roars and lunges at you. His massive paw swings, aiming to crush your head instantly. But a split second before he can touch you, you simply sidestep out of the way, letting his massive body slip right past. With a clean, quiet slice, Hei Yuan crashes hard into the steel cage. Then, under thousands of stunned stares, his massive head, still wearing that savage, mocking grin, slides cleanly right off his neck. Crimson blood fountains into the air. The arena falls dead silent at first, and then explodes into madness. Your number, 9527, echoes here for the first time. But then comes the second round, the 5th, the 10th, and by the 37th match, everyone slowly starts to realize that they are not watching a match at all, but a one-sided rapid harvesting of lives. You become a blur, an after-image gliding across the arena. Yet the moment they approach you, their bodies split right down the middle. The fire manipulator unleashed a sky of flames, but you walk through them like a quiet graveyard, stepping right up to him. A second later, his head rolls on the floor. After that, whether they ambush or attack directly, or surround you from afar, the result is always a one-hit kill. There are no wasted movements, and no flashy clashes. Not even anything you could call a real fight. You simply walk up, and they collapse to the ground. Slowly, the cheers from the crowd begin to fade. Instead, there is only a suffocating and heavy silence and the sound of sharp gasps. Because everyone can see it now. You are not here to beat the 100-man challenge. You are clearing the arena. You are harvesting them. By the end of the 99th match, the referee announces with a trembling voice, the winner is number 9527. You already stand in the center of the fallen crowd, the ground beneath you stained crimson. That pale, smiling mask of yours is already dyed a dark red with blood. Yet, standing right there, your breathing has not even quickened once. The entire bloody arena falls dead silent. At the same time, up in the luxury suite, the arena owner Lord Jin looks terrifyingly grim. The Tier 4 weapon soul, Golden River, was a provincial Big Shots blood prize placed in this very arena. No one ever intended to let anyone actually take it. But right now, you are only a single step away from claiming it. Lord Jin lets out a cold sneer, slamming his hand onto the red button on the wall. Activate the scavenger protocol. Send in the Titan. A heavy rumble shakes the octagonal cage. That heavy door leading to your final challenge, forged from a rare and highly refined alloy, slowly grinds upward. An aura fiercer than all previous opponents combined, 100 times more terrifying and vicious, like a physical torrent, surging from the darkness behind the door. Standing nearly 3 meters tall, with muscles forged like solid steel, a giant with bronze metallic skin, slowly stepped into the light. With every single step he took, the entire octagon cage shuddered. The silent crowd in the stands instantly erupted into terrified screams. It is Titan, the indestructible Titan. My God, wasn't he locked in the deepest dark prison? How did he get out? Now that masked guy is in real trouble. Titan. He once tore a level 4 beast apart with his bare hands. Titan walked to the center of the arena, ignoring all the fallen bodies around him. His massive glaring eyes locked right onto you. He grinned widely, showing a mouthful of sharp white teeth. His voice grated like grinding metal. Kid, your killing game ends here. Now it is my turn. Titan's voice sounded like rusty iron plates scraping together, calm yet far more chilling than any roar. Kid, your killing game ends here. Now it is my turn. The crowd went dead silent at first, before erupting into even louder screams. Everyone recognized this 3 meters tall giant, a monster with a bronze metallic sheen. Scavenger Titan, the ultimate secret weapon of this deathmatch arena. Rumor says his level 4 absolute hardening makes his body tougher than top-grade alloy armor. Normal blades cannot even scratch him, but you do not even bother to reply. The next second, you vanish from the spot, reappearing like a ghost right beside Titan's left. Your military dagger slashes a dark arc, aiming straight for his neck. This single strike carries a trace of the raw power of basic space compression. Forget mere flesh and blood. Even thick tank armor should be cleanly sliced. But instead, a sharp metallic clang explodes into flying sparks. The razor-sharp dagger in your hand shatters into tiny pieces the instant it touches his skin. And on the Titan's massive neck, it leaves behind only a faint white mark that vanishes almost instantly. The Titan finally grins. His booming laughter rattles the entire steel cage. I told you, little bug, your pathetic cutting tricks do not work on me. Before the words even fade, he throws a massive backhand punch. No flashy energy, no complicated martial arts, just pure power condensed to the absolute limit. It is too fast. You can clearly see his fist coming, but your body is too slow to dodge. You instantly cross your arms to shield your chest. Bang! This single blow feels like a maglev train hitting you at full speed, crashing directly into your body. You are sent flying straight backward, slamming into the alloy mesh. The heavy metal fencing bulges outward instantly, leaving a massive human-shaped dent. Then, dark blood spills from beneath the bottom of your mask, staining your combat suit. The entire arena instantly goes silent. Then it erupts into even wilder cheers. Those who were silenced just moments ago, paralyzed by your 99 consecutive kills, now find a sudden outlet for their fear. They scream hysterically, waiting to watch you get crushed. In the VIP box, Master Jin raises his glass again, looking completely relaxed and contemptuous. In his eyes, you're ultimately just someone using strange tricks to win. Fierce little weapons. But only Titans represent what true power really means. Yet there you are, leaning casually against the fence. You slowly wipe the blood from your mouth, yet your eyes remain ice cold, without a single flicker of emotion. You have already reached the clear conclusion. Standard spatial cuts are not invincible. When the enemy's physical density and raw energy structure are strong enough to exceed a certain threshold, the shearing force generated by the collapse is severely weakened. Which means that, slicing it from the outside, is completely useless against its defense in the short term. But the problem is you do not have time. Your little sister is still waiting in the hospital. The Tier 4 Frost Bramble River is right in front of you. Since the outside is a no-go, you must go from the inside. So you stand straight again. Seeing this, the Titan looks at you, amused. You can still move? Looks like I went too easy on you. You still do not say a word. You simply launch yourself at him once again. To everyone watching, you are just a moth to a flame. The Titan thinks so too. He does not even bother raising his fist this time. Instead, he spreads his arms with a cruel smirk, intending to crush you to death with his bare hands, grinding your bones and internal organs into a fine powder. 10 meters, 5 meters, 3 meters. Just as the two of you are about to collide, your body suddenly drops low, dodging his massive mountain-like chest as it looms over you. You slip past like a slick, dark shadow gliding right past his flank in a flash. At that exact moment, you spread the fingers of your right hand and gently press them right against his temple. The gesture is almost like a lover's soft caress. The Titan does not even have time to wipe the wild grin off his face. While deep in your eyes, there is nothing left but an icy absolute coldness. A spatial tear opens. But this time, you are not slicing from the outside, nor are you using a closed shear. You trigger the tear directly inside his indestructible skull, past the heavy bone, and deep into the core of his brain. By sheer force, carving out a 1 centimeter cube of space. The space existed for a fleeting moment before snapping back into place. The most fundamental laws of the universe, in that brief 1/10,000th of a second, triggered a flash of creation and annihilation. Titan froze instantly. His eyes, his expression, and his movements locked in time. Right after, a line of crimson slowly seeped from his left ear. Then his right ear, his nostrils and his eyes, and his mouth. 7 trails of blood crept down his bronze face, slowly dripping down, painting a deeply unsettling and bizarre pattern. The next instant, his massive, mountain-like body collapsed straight down, slamming hard onto the octagonal floor. The Scavenger Titan, a Tier 4 physical reinforcement powerhouse, was dead on the spot. The entire Colosseum felt like someone hit the mute button. The music stopped, the screams died, and every expression froze solid on their faces. Thousands of eyes stared in shock at the bleeding corpse, with blood leaking from its face, and then looked at you, standing right beside it. No visible wounds, no epic clash, just a single brief touch, and then their Titan fell. After a brief, suffocating silence, a wealthy businessman in the front row dropped his glass as if a hidden switch was flipped. The next instant, the entire arena absolutely erupted. Countless spectators screamed and cried, pushing to get out, desperate to escape a venue that now felt like hell. But you paid no attention to the chaos. You raised your head, looking through the frantic crowd, toward the luxury suite on the top floor, your voice raspy and hoarse from your injuries. But the cold, clear reality remained. 100 matches were over. Hand over the Tier 4 Ice Broad Jinhee. As the words faded, the crowd froze in their tracks for a second. Yeah, you actually won. The 100-kill run was officially complete. By the rules, that prize should belong to you. But Jin Ye clearly had no intention of ever playing by the rules. He stepped right up to the microphone. His cold sneer echoed through the speakers across the entire arena. 9527. You actually managed to give me quite a surprise. Too bad you really thought those little tricks of yours could somehow fool everyone. A Titan's flesh is tougher than standard warship armor, yet he collapsed silently, without leaving even a single decent wound on him. This is clearly a curse kill technique, or some underhanded tactic using banned neurotoxin. Therefore, you broke the rules. According to the Shura Arena's ironclad laws, once a challenger resorts to forbidden technology, their record is voided and the prize is forfeited. The moment he said this, the entire crowd erupted into chaos again. A total double cross. In an instant, everyone in the crowd realized exactly what Jin Ye was targeting. It was no longer just the Jinhei. He wanted that defense-ignoring technique of yours. That bizarre secret technique that guarantees a one-hit kill. He planned to seize both you and the treasure for himself. Right after that, with a sickening show of fake generosity, he quickly added, however, I can still offer you a way to live. Hand over your secret technique, and I will let you live. I can even make you the absolute most valuable dog under my command. Standing right there in the arena, you slowly raise your head. At this moment, the very last shred of patience you had for their rules was completely and utterly shattered. You had faithfully played by their sick little game, risking your life and bearing wounds to complete the 100-kill run. But now the house looks you in the eye and says, "We don't accept it." In that case, there is absolutely nothing left to say. You just let out a soft chuckle. That smirk clearly set Lord Jin off completely. He instantly ordered his men to seize you, dead or alive. I want his secrets. In the next instant, the 8 alloy gates around the octagon ground open simultaneously. Squads of heavily armed soldiers, clad in black exoskeleton armor and wielding Gauss kinetic rifles, flooded out of the darkness like a tide. Their pitch-black gun barrels, sights glowing with eerie blue electricity, instantly locked onto all 100 people at once. And every single one was a battle-hardened veteran. The spectator stands erupted in pure chaos. Survivors frantically hammered on the gates. Everyone knew the truth. Once the arena sweeper squads were deployed, this place would become a literal slaughterhouse. Yet you stood right in the center, slowly letting go of the shattered dagger in your hand. Since they refused to play by the rules, then your rules were the only rules. Fire. At the captain's command, hundreds of Gauss rifles spat fire at once. A dense storm of alloy bullets tore the air, weaving a deadly web from all directions, with absolutely zero blind spots. Your figure was instantly swallowed whole. Smoke, flames, and screams exploded together. But when the gunfire finally stopped, you were still standing right there, completely unscathed. Within 1 meter of you, the space had warped into a bizarre, almost funhouse mirror-distorted state. Thousands of tank-piercing alloy rounds were swallowed up by that warped zone, suspended in midair like insects trapped in amber. Their kinetic energy was forcefully stripped away, and as they ground together in that tight space, the metal even began glowing a brilliant red hot. All the private soldiers froze in shock. They've seen bulletproof shields, and they've seen energy barriers. Even mutants taking bullets with their bare flesh. But they've never seen anyone stop bullets midair. This isn't defense. This is a command. You raise your hand, aiming toward that suspended, deadly storm of warp to space, and gently close your fist. Now it's my turn. A second later, you spin around, sweeping your arm wide, and that pocket of space trapping 1,000 red warheads is hurled directly by you at the densest enemy phalanx on the left. At that exact same moment, space snaps back to normal, and all that stolen kinetic energy is returned in a single instant swoosh. No gunshots, only a massive shriek tearing through the air. Those warheads fly backward even faster than they first arrived, forming a fan-shaped crimson barrage. Dozens of soldiers in the front row are shredded before they can even react. Their exoskeleton armor, bone and flesh all become a joke in an instant. Massive clouds of blood mist explode outward, painting the entire battlefield a deep scarlet. The survivors are instantly driven mad by fear. Some retreat, some scream, others desperately throw high explosive grenades and incendiaries, trying to completely bury you in firepower. But you don't even look. The exploding flames, shockwaves, and flying shrapnel fail to hurt you, and are swallowed whole by that warped space instead. That single cubic meter of space, in this moment, becomes like a miniature star about to collapse, packed tight with pure, violent, explosive energy. And then you charge straight inside. You just stroll casually right through that raging sea of fire, closing in on the Sejun ranks which have descended into total chaos. Your eyes lock instantly onto their captain, who is trying to flee. Next, you release your tight, crushing grip on the space around you. Take it back. Boom. The heavily compressed explosive energy is instantly and violently released into the air. With you at the center, it instantly transforms into a massive 3-foot fireball of pure and agonizing death, sweeping outward violently in every single direction imaginable. A dozen Sejun soldiers caught directly in the path of the blast are instantly vaporized on the spot, heavy armor and all. Those on the outer edges are first set ablaze by the heat, and then torn apart by a massive wave of high-speed shrapnel. Even their agonizing screams are instantly blown into shattered, silent bits. This is no longer a normal combat scenario. This is pure slaughter. Your spatial field, right here, has instantly transformed into the most terrifying mobile arsenal in existence. The stronger the enemy's incoming firepower, the more lethal the deadly payback you send back to them. Their so-called numerical advantage and overwhelming firepower suppression, in the face of the absolute laws of space itself, are nothing but a total joke. Very soon, the entire arena is left with nothing but agonizing wails and crackling flames. That lucky Sejun captain, who somehow managed to survive the first wave of explosions, dragging his scorched, half-charred body along the ground, scrambles frantically on all fours toward the VIP box at the top, screaming and begging for help. Meanwhile, Inside the box, Master Jin has already collapsed completely back into his sofa, staring directly at the absolute living hell on his surveillance monitors. His face is completely frozen in a mask of pure terror. Before this, he actually believed you only possessed some sort of clever stealth barrier or trick. But now he finally understands the harsh reality. The person he crossed is absolutely not just some lunatic who knows a few spells, but he was a complete monster. So he spun around and bolted. But he only took 2 steps. Behind him, a sudden and massive bang erupted. The military captain, looking just like a torn sack, was kicked right through the private room door and rolled right to his feet. The captain let out a few dry wheezes, raised a finger to point toward the door. His head slumped to the side, and he drew his last breath. Lord Jin stiffly turned his head around. Out of the dust outside, you slowly stepped in. Your clothes were covered in dark grime. Even your pale, smiling face mask was already stained dark red. Yet the eyes behind it were terrifyingly calm. You did not waste a single breath. You simply walked up to that thick glass. Even high-grade bulletproof glass that could withstand armor-piercing rounds. You slowly raised your hand and gently pressed your fingers against it. The next second, centering right on your palm, the entire glass surface began to spread with webbed, pitch-black cracks. But this was no ordinary shattering. It was space itself being ripped apart. Lord Jin finally lost his mind completely, screaming at you to stop. He even babbled about the military origin of the barrier glass, bringing up fortunes and his Wang family background, pleading for his life with promises of massive rewards. But to your ears, those desperate words did not even register as a breeze. You clenched your fingers tight. With a strange, muffled crack and hum, that thick sheet of specialized bulletproof glass, along with the half-meter-thick solid alloy wall, was ripped straight out by your bare hand. This left a massive opening in the wall, a perfect hole exactly 3 meters wide. The massive round chunk of concrete crashed down, shaking the entire private room violently. And with it, Lord Jin's last shred of safety was crushed. He fell to his knees with a thud, kowtowing frantically on the floor. His face smeared with snot and tears, crying, "Stop! I will give you everything." The Tier 4 icebreaker gold is right in the safe. You grab him by the hair with a tight grip, lifting his entire body straight up off the floor, dragging him like a heavy sack to the hidden vault. After scanning his eye and reading his fingerprint, the heavy safe door slowly swings open. An icy wave of freezing air floods the entire room. Shaking with terror, Master Jin carefully brings out a blue metal box. Holding it with both hands above his head, you take the metal box, flipping it open with one hand to reveal a fist-sized, brilliantly clear and translucent crystal. Inside, it looks like an icy blue storm is brewing, and the spinning power of the core immediately catches your eye. That incredibly pure, bone-chilling energy from the core makes the spatial power inside your own body give a sudden, subtle shudder in response. It is the real deal. You instantly store it in your space. Seeing that the item is finally in your hands, Master Jin actually has the nerve to beg for mercy. He even brags about being connected to the powerful Wang family, hoping his background will save his life. Too bad for him. Before he can even finish, an invisible razor-sharp edge flashes through the air. His desperate pleading cuts off in an instant. His head is cleanly severed from his shoulders. It rolls away, landing heavily on the floor. A fountain of warm blood sprays from his neck, drenching half of your clothes. You boot his still twitching corpse out of your way without a care. Your voice is completely flat, cold, and dead. I don't care who you are. Leave the roots alive, and they will bite you back. This hard lesson is something you learned long ago in the dark, gritty slums. With the core secured, you do not make a quick exit. Instead, you casually slice open the main gas line in the corner. High-pressure gas begins to hiss violently into the room. It rapidly fills the entire private room. Next, you flick open and ignite a silver lighter, casually tossing the tiny, dancing flame right into the heart of this incredibly opulent and sinful grave. Then, you turn and stride out of the room, never looking back. A few seconds pass, then, boom! An earth-shattering explosion violently tears through the entire penthouse suite. Flames and shockwaves roar like a raging dragon, tearing through the entire underground arena. Steel twists and warps. The walls crumble down. This hell that devoured countless lives finally meets its well-deserved destruction. But you walk away from the flames, the blinding light, and the chaos. You slowly climb the stairs toward the surface. When you push open the heavy iron door, bright morning light washes over your face. You raise your hand, slowly pulling off the blood-stained smiling mask to reveal a pale, weary, yet sharp and cold young face. The ice shatter core is finally yours. Next, you have to save your sister. The other debts can wait for later. In the dead of night, You practically shatter the hospital's silence. The on-duty doctor is still half asleep, but the moment you slam the box, containing the cold Tier 4 ice shatter core, hard onto his desk, he snaps instantly awake. His voice even cracks with shock. A Tier 4 ice shatter core. The entire intensive care ward lights up. Top-tier doctors assemble. Sterile labs are prepped. The dilution process begins. Energy flows are guided. Operations impossible at this hour are completed in record time, all forced into motion by this single core. You stand outside the sterile observation room, staring through the glass at your sister. The diluted, ice blue energy slowly flows into her through precision instruments. At first, her vitals on the monitor fluctuate wildly. You can hear your own heart hammering. But moments later, a change finally occurs. The deadly frost on her face begins to fade. The natural color was slowly returning to her lips. Her heartbeat, once so faint it had nearly vanished, steadily climbed back up from 30 to 45, before finally stabilizing within a completely normal range. The piercing, continuous alarms that had been wailing across the entire ward now began to fall silent, one after another. It wasn't until the first light of dawn spilled into the corridor that the primary doctor finally pulled down his surgical mask. Looking exhausted but unable to hide his excitement, it worked. Her body has stabilized and her vitals are normal. From here, she just needs quiet rest to fully recover. This battle, it felt as though the final pillar supporting your body was suddenly ripped away. The nerves you had kept wound tight for 2 weeks, finally and completely let go. A massive, crushing tidal wave of exhaustion hit, instantly swallowing your entire body. You just sat there by the side of her hospital bed, staring at your little sister, watching her sleeping face as a faint color finally returned to her skin until your heavy eyelids collapsed and you fell into a deep sleep. It was the most peaceful, undisturbed sleep you had had in ages. But you had no idea that the massive, biting flow of Tier 4 cold energy inside her body, even after it had finished stabilizing her fragile life, still left a tiny, lingering trace of itself behind. That single thread of incredibly pure, concentrated energy, guided by the bond between siblings and a mysterious, inexplicable connection of shared blood, it silently and quietly flowed directly into your body. Compared to the whole Tier 4 crystal core, this tiny leftover remnant was completely insignificant, but to you, in your current state, it was more than enough to trigger a true, profound transformation. No one knows how much time passed before you suddenly bolted awake. At first, a sharp, stabbing pain hit you, as if a steel needle was being violently twisted inside your mind. But almost immediately after, that agonizing pain was completely washed away by a euphoric wave of spiritual ascension. You could feel it with absolute clarity. Deep within your mind, that invisible barrier, which had always placed a strict limit on your space abilities, was suddenly and violently shattered by this foreign energy. Your mental power shatters its limits, sending your spatial control skyrocketing. You instantly peer inside, checking your ability core, and then your breath catches for a split second. That storage space, which was once just a single cubic meter, is suddenly ripped wide open by some massive invisible hand. Its storage volume begins to expand at a terrifying speed. 2 cubic meters, 5 cubic meters, 10 cubic meters, all in a few brief breaths. The space that once felt like a tiny box is now blowing up into the size of a warehouse. But that isn't even the most important part. The very moment the spatial expansion finally finishes, a trace of a brand new spatial law is quietly engraved deep into the core. With a single, silent thought, you sweep a glass of water from your nightstand inside. Next, you trigger that brand new imprint. A low hum vibrates. The sloshing water inside the glass instantly freezes in place. Even a single stray droplet about to splash in midair eerily stops dead in its tracks. Time, inside that pocket of space, feels like it has been completely paused. In an instant, you grasp the true power of this new ability, absolute stasis. Anything, non-living matter or energy form you pull inside, will have its current state locked down absolutely. And if you drag a living creature inside, every single one of its vital signs will instantly grind to a complete halt. It is the exact same as trapping them in a timeless cage. What does this actually mean? It means you can store far more than just massive stockpiles of ammo. You can store roaring fire, explosions, and shockwaves. The very split second an enemy launches an attack, you can swallow their incoming attacks and drag parts of their physical body straight into your vault. But here is the terrifying part. You could briefly tuck parts of your own body away, safely inside that frozen space, and instantly unleash them from a completely different spot. It lets you pull off bizarre strikes that mimic teleportation. This is no longer just a boost in capacity. It is a complete evolution. You clench your fists, feeling an unprecedented surge inside your body. Spatial energy. A cold light flickers in your eyes. As you are now, even facing a real Tier 5 powerhouse head-on, you no longer have to gamble your life. And right at that very moment, the public television outside your hospital room blared an intense fast-paced news broadcast. Today, the highly anticipated National Academy of Awakened Ones joint entrance exam officially kicks off in the imperial capital. Elite heirs from the Federation's giant corporate clans, the prestigious families, and hundreds of SNA-class military prodigies have all gathered in the capital. They will battle for spots in the top 3 elite academies in a fierce month-long brutal competition. On screen, young and arrogant faces flash by, looking polished, glamorous, and untouchable, dressed in their flashy custom combat gear, proudly displaying their prestigious family crests. Under a wave of flashing camera lights, born to stand far above the clouds, you stand by the window, staring silently at the screen, your eyes slowly turning ice cold. These people are the true darlings of this world, chosen ones with unlimited resources. Status, spots, and privilege. And fame, they held it all since birth. But you crawled from the ruins, crawling out of dark alleys and back from death's door. But because of that, you are more determined to go. You step into the bathroom, washing away all the blood and grime, putting on a fresh set of black combat gear looted from the battlefield. Then, you grab the narrow battle saber that you swiped from the safe tonight and strap it to your back. Finally, you look back at your sister, fast asleep on the hospital bed. She survived. She is finally safe. And now it is time. It is your turn to settle scores with this world. You push open the hospital doors. The blinding midday sun blazes down on the street, but you merely squint your eyes at the glare. And then you step right out into it. Zhangcheng, this grim place complete consumed by darkness and constant struggle, is nothing more than your starting zone. Your true hunting ground lies in the capital. You are going to make those high and mighty geniuses feel absolute despair. This game is only just getting started.